Welcome, everyone. In today's discussion, we're going to dive deep into a really critical topic: how artificial intelligence is moving beyond just a buzzword and becoming a core capability inside the world of business to business, or B2B, operations. Our goal here is to trace the entire journey, from how we gather massive amounts of raw data, all the way to how that data gets transformed into smart, strategic, and actionable decisions. So here's our roadmap for today. We're going to tackle this in 5 clear stages. First, we'll set the scene by looking at why B2B is such a complex environment to begin with. Then, we'll break down stage 1, capturing signals, which is all about how AI gathers data. After that, we'll get into stage 2, finding patterns, where the real analysis begins. Stage 3 is aiding action, turning those patterns into actual recommendations. And finally, we'll wrap up with what is arguably the most important piece of the puzzle: the human in the loop. Okay, let's jump right into our first section. To really appreciate what AI brings to the table, we first have to understand the unique world it's operating in, and that's the world of B2B commerce. You see, unlike buying a cup of coffee, B2B decisions are just incredibly intricate. It's a completely different ballgame. As you see here, you're not dealing with one person. You have multiple stakeholders, sometimes entire committees who all need to sign off. The sales cycles themselves can drag on for months, even years. And these aren't small transactions. These are high-value, strategic relationships. All of this means that the quality of every single decision is absolutely critical for a company's success. So with that in mind, it's crucial that we think of AI in the right way. It isn't some kind of magic black box. It's a specific capability, a tool that's purpose-built to cut through all that complexity we just talked about. Its core job, and this is a form of what we call narrow AI, is to take a huge, messy flood of information, big data, and systematically turn it into clearer, smarter, and statistically backed choices. That brings us to our second section, where we'll look at the very first step in this entire AI value chain: capturing signals. You can really think of this stage as AI acting like a sensory system for the whole company, helping it see and hear things it couldn't before. This whole transformation from just raw information to actual decision support, it really unfolds in 3 key stages. And it all kicks off with stage 1, data collection. This is where AI systems just fundamentally change the game in terms of how a company can absorb all sorts of information. And we're going to call that information signals. This goes way beyond just typing numbers into a spreadsheet. And this slide right here perfectly illustrates just how broad we're talking. AI can process everything from the text of customer emails and transcripts from service calls to the actual data showing how a customer is using a product. A huge amount of this is what we call unstructured data. Things like text, images, and audio that don't fit neatly into a database. And that kind of data is famously difficult for traditional software to make any sense of. Now, automating this data capture, that's a huge shift. It means the company is no longer so reliant on people manually entering data, which, let's be honest, can lead to mistakes and missed information. Even more importantly, it acts like a safety net. It's constantly scanning and capturing those faint but really important signals, like the first signs of a customer getting unhappy or a competitor making a move that a person might easily overlook. Okay, so we've captured this mountain of signals. Now, what do we do with it? Well, the next challenge is to find the meaning hidden in all that noise. So now we're moving on to our third section, which covers the second stage of the AI process: finding patterns. This is where that raw information starts to become real knowledge. Now, it is so important to understand what's happening here. The AI doesn't understand business strategy in the way a human does. Its incredible power comes from its ability, through machine learning, to find these subtle statistical patterns and connections across millions of data points, patterns that are frankly impossible for the human brain to see because of the sheer scale and complexity. The AI finds the mathematical links that a human strategist can then interpret. And this slide is a perfect way to make that idea concrete. An AI model can look at a bunch of seemingly random service complaints from one customer and connect the dots to flag that account as having a high risk of churn or leaving. So you see, it connects a specific signal that we can observe to a likely and very costly future outcome. All right, let's move on to our fourth section, which covers the final and, you could argue, the most valuable stage in this whole process. This is the aiding action stage, where all those abstract patterns we just found get translated into clear, actionable advice for the teams on the ground. This is what makes AI so powerful in a B2B setting. The system doesn't just spit out a dashboard full of data. It actually gives you recommendations that are ready to go. It can figure out the next best action, telling you exactly which client to call, what specific offer to make, or which sales lead you should focus on to have the best shot at success. So the key insight here is that by making sure every action taken by sales and service teams is better focused and better timed, AI acts as a massive productivity multiplier. It makes sure that your people are spending their valuable time and energy on the things that are going to make the biggest difference. So, after looking at everything this technology can do, capturing signals, finding patterns, and recommending actions, we have to turn to the final section of our discussion. And this is about the most critical piece for making this all work responsibly and effectively: the human expert, or what we call the human in the loop. Honestly, if you remembered just one thing from our entire talk today, make it this. No matter how powerful or sophisticated the technology gets, any AI system is incomplete without a human being providing oversight, context, and good old-fashioned judgment. And this slide shows you exactly why that is. The AI can crunch the numbers and give you a statistically perfect next best action. But only a human manager can weigh all the other stuff. What's our history with this client? Are we in the middle of a tricky negotiation? What's the right move to maintain trust and protect our reputation? These are questions that require judgment, not just calculation. So at the end of the day, the real value of AI in business isn't about replacing people. It's about augmenting them. It's about enhancing their skills. The goal is to free up human experts from the tedious work of data analysis so they can focus on making smarter, more strategic, and more nuanced decisions. I'll leave you with this final thought to consider because I think it perfectly captures this essential partnership that has to exist between machine intelligence and human judgment. The AI can point you to the next best action, but only a human can truly decide if it's the right one. And that concludes our session.